So I'm Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS The Horror Story. And what I do is I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I'm a mom who had her 2 kids kidnapped by CPS. After fighting for 2 years, I did get my kids back, and they're home with me now. And so now I have this platform for people to be able to share their stories and just talk about the truth of the corruption of CPS.
Okay.
Your turn.
So, my name is Frances McCracken, and I've been involved with, I guess you call it CPS, for 2 years now. It started in 2018, where they came into my home. The worker, they came unannounced, so nobody was told of anything. They threatened when they came into my home, if they couldn't have access, that they would remove my children. So, the case that had opened, the first one, was over neglect because of the home. We fixed those problems. So when I say we fixed it, like we did what was required of us. And so then that case closed. Well, come around, I'd say November of 2019, they had, before that, they had switched workers. So the CPS worker switched it to an ongoing worker. And so the ongoing worker would come in and out. And by that point, it was in November of 2019. And they removed my kids the first time. Let me backtrack a little bit. They removed them the first time. And my daughter, I remember that my daughter, she screamed to high heaven. She screamed. Like, I remember hugging her and kissing her and telling her, I will do everything I can to protect you. And I felt so helpless. Like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get my daughter back. So 2019 came around, about November, like I said. They had wanted to see my medications because I have depression and anxiety.
How old are your kids, by the way?
One is 6, the other one is, she's going to be 3 in December. And when it first started, she was 1.5 years.
Okay.
So my daughter just started walking, and it was bad. It was really bad. I got in the worker's face and I said, "Are you out of your mind? The best place for my child is with me." So 2019 comes, and they removed me on the allegations that I wasn't compliant with my medication because I have depression and anxiety. And so when they removed me, they did not have a warrant. They did not have, like, they said either you leave or your kids do. And I was upset. I didn't want to leave my children without a home. So instead of staying in the home myself, I chose to leave. Because then they're not with some stranger and they don't.
So who are they staying with?
Right now, they're with Grandpa. And they were with my husband and I. I'll get more into this. It gets even, it's so sick. It's disturbing. So at that point, it's my suspicion that they wanted to remove them in 2019. And the judge had told them, no, you're not removing these kids. So they, 2019, they removed me from my home. My neighbors, literally, they placed me with them, and then they kicked me out. And they called the state troopers and said, oh, she's trying to walk out in the middle of 37 and trying to kill herself. And so when they did that, the troopers picked me up. And mind you, anybody else probably is scared. And I just held my hands out. I said, okay, if you're going to take me, take me. I held my hands out. They cuffed me. And they actually locked the cuffs so they couldn't tighten because I wasn't resisting. So I get to the hospital, the local hospital here. And so when I do, I get in, the cop takes me into the room. The state trooper does, and he does his work. I'm not even sure. I think it's a report. So the nurse comes in and they're like, okay, we have to hold you on an evaluation. And so prior to this, my neighbors knew that if they could get me in the hospital for 72 hours, that they would deem me mentally unstable. So that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get me held for 72 hours. And I said, listen, I have nowhere to go, and my next door neighbors kicked me out. I have no roof over my head. I legit had none. And so I ended up talking to the hospital. The doctor says, well, there's nothing wrong with you. He goes, you're not a harm to yourself and you're not a harm to other people. And I actually have the ER records still, and it says I had situational anxiety because I had no roof over my head. So my neighbors then had asked, what does she need to do to be able to go home to her family? And they said, well, she needs to be compliant with her medication and she needs to keep engaged in therapy. And they had a whole list of everything. I did everything, every single thing on that list, and they wouldn't let me home. They wouldn't let me near my kids. So then 2020 comes around, and I guess I must have drove the worker out. I have no idea, but she left and went to a different department. And so they gave us a different worker. Yet again. So we're meeting with this worker, and so she's like, well, we're going to violate you again on the same exact charges. We're going to violate you again. I'm like, okay. So I went to, I talked to my attorney because I have one. My husband and I both do. At first it was, and I'm going to be specific about this, at first it was just me. They targeted me. So, like, they wanted us.
I was going to ask, so does your husband get to see them?
He does. He gets to see them. I get, on court order, I have between 8 and 8, and it's twice a week. So he has unsupervised visits. Or no, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. He has supervised visits with his father. And I legit have nobody to actually supervise my visits. So the only way I was able to see them was through a different program. And I only got a couple hours a week.
What were the allegations against you, and who made them?
I can't, to this day, I still don't know who made them. And so the allegations were that I was not compliant with my medication. My husband, for 2 months straight, there's been no squeak or squabble on my medication. But anyways, so they ended up coming to court. We go in. We went to court on July 26th. And again, they wanted to remove my children. And the judge told them, no, we're not removing the children. So they gave my father-in-law Article 10, and it's temporary custody of them. And so, like right now, I'm actually in the middle of battle because I have to fight them off and keep them with my father-in-law. Because right now they want to steal my children. They want to full-on steal my children. And so the worker that I had, she ended up emailing me because we were supposed to set up a visitation. This was after court. We were supposed to set up a visitation, and she says, oh, I have an emergency. Never emailed me back after. Nothing. Heard nothing from her. Not even a phone call. And so then after that, my lawyer was like, okay, we'll reach out to her and see what's going on and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, that's just what I want to do. So, and then when we went to court this time, and they told lies. And I'm going to be specific about this too. When I say they told lies, like CPS told the judge we weren't talking to our lawyer. Neither my husband or I. They told them that we weren't bothering to see the kids. They told them that we weren't bothering to talk to them or bothering to show up to court or anything. Our lawyers advised us, because of the COVID, you can Skype in, or you could do something a little bit different, which is you can go in person, but you have to wear a mask, or you have to Zoom or Skype. And so, and they said you don't have to be there. So yesterday we had court, and that's when it came to our attention that they had told their lawyers that we weren't talking to our lawyer. Like, and when I say it was horrible, like, the first case, my daughter ended up in respite for 2 weeks. She ended up bound up, and she screamed and screamed and screamed, and I couldn't understand why. And I'm like, man, what was I doing? What was I doing wrong? What am I not catching? And I took her to the doctor, and when I took her to the doctor, they found that she was bound up for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks that she was in respite. And then when they came around, CPS did, my father-in-law told them she gave her daughter mozzarella sticks, but didn't give them to Dawson, so you couldn't have it. Well, it ended up being that my son, he had a milk allergy, and lo and behold, You give him milk and he'll break out in little rings. And it almost looks like ringworm, but it wasn't. It was a milk allergy. And I'm like, man, what is he getting into, you know? But we took him to his doctor and found that he had a milk allergy. So that was the one allegation. And then there was another one that I left red marks on my son. And when I left them on my son, I screamed him in his face. My kids are so fair-skinned, you pick them up and they're gonna get red. They're very fair-skinned. Yeah. So then we get to now, and it's all a mess. They have made sure they can do everything they can to keep me away from my children. I talked about this earlier. I have a court order that states I can't talk to my children unless it's supervised by third party. I can't talk to them. I can't write to them. I can't do none of that. I can't be at their appointments. I can't be at their daycare, their school. I'm not allowed to have anything to do with it. They essentially stripped me of my rights without even doing anything. And they lied on me. They lied when, there were a couple of different things. A couple of different things that they had lied on, and it wasn't. One of them was that. Excuse me, I remember now. One of them was that I was a drug dealer. They said, "Oh, she sells her prescription medication," and then, I don't. They're like, "Oh, we have proof of it on videotape," and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So you're videotaping me without my consent, for one, and I go, "Where's this video? I want to see it." And so they're like, they put in the petition, they're like, "Oh, she's a drug dealer. She's selling her drugs." And I'm like, and it was over an allegation that my father-in-law had said. He goes, "I don't know how true it is, but," he goes, "that's just what I heard." So everything that was hearsay was used, and it can be used in family court. And so that leads me up to the other day. I had a conversation with this worker, and I said, "Listen," I go, "I don't appreciate being harassed. I don't appreciate you targeting my family. I don't appreciate any of it." I go, "You violated a few of my amendments alone." And I said, "If you want something, talk to my lawyer. If you want something, you can talk to my lawyer." And she says to me, word for word, legit, "We'll let the judge and the lawyer know you're being uncooperative." And I said to the worker, I said, "Nowhere in there does it state I'm being uncooperative and not wanting to meet with a worker. I said, I told you, if you want something, you can go to my worker, or my worker. You can go to my lawyer and ask." So, and I said to her, I go, "I'm not afraid to sue you. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all." I was like, "I'm not afraid to take this to Supreme Court. I'm not afraid to take this where I need to get my kids. I'm not afraid to give my father-in-law temporary custody so I can fight them and to be able to get them home with mom and dad." From day one, they have railroaded us. Day one. At one point, there was a time when I was staying up at the neighbors, they said, well, we'll let her see the kids over the weekend. And so the worker that was there, she was called and called and called about it. Nothing. Not a word. I was like, okay. We're in the middle of fixing our home. We have a home we have a home here in New York. And so we're in the middle of fixing our home for our family. And so the worker's like, no, you can't live out there. No, you can't live out there. The kids can't be out there. None of that. And she goes, but you can live next door to your father-in-law. You can go anytime next door to your father-in-law. And I'm like, really? I'm like, he was the reason for my anxiety. I literally had to quit my job because I felt that my kids weren't being taken properly care of. And so legit, I went and decided that, okay, I'll quit my job and stay home with my kids. And he would verbally attack me. And that's part of the reason that they came in. And they didn't know exactly what was going on. He would say, you're full of beans. And I would go, no, I really don't think so. I didn't have enough brains to take care of my kids, stuff like that. Those are the things that he would come at me with. And I'm like, so you've taken the side of him and you've removed me from my kids. And I go, well, what are you gonna do now? I mean, they've taken everything that's mine. I shouldn't say mine, but everything that means something to me, they have taken. I mean, I'll give you a really good example. I remember this clearly. My mother had just passed away in March of this year. And so never once did they ask, hey, is there anything we can do? How are you doing? There was nothing. And so, not that I really care, because I really don't, but that's just one instance where they wanted us to, immediately when we got back, we were supposed to hop to. I was like, wow. I mean, the worker we have now, she's said to my husband inappropriate things, like, oh, I have devil horns, and I have to put my devil horns away. You don't do that to someone. And that's just a little bit of what I've gone through. I found out recently that the services that we have in place, one of them doesn't even, and we were never told this, it doesn't even begin to stop until our case is closed. So my suspicion is this, that they're going to use the service that we have in place to keep the case open. They've kept it open for 2 years now. So, yeah, I was removed, and I'm going to go back a little bit too. I was removed from my home without the warrant. And so when I was in the hospital, they then put me in a homeless shelter. And then from there, they put me in a motel. And I'm going to be specific about this. This is how much they actually care about the people that come in there. I literally, it's not me, but because I'm squeaky clean, there are rats above my head, so in my ceiling. There's bed bugs next door, and there's roaches in a few of these motel rooms. And that's just the beginning of the iceberg.
And how are you paying for the hotel rooms?
I'm gonna be paying out of pocket. They are now, because my husband lives with me, they separated us at first. Then they put us back together, and it's not of their own doing, but I am going to be paying out of my own pocket because my husband makes too much money.
Where does your husband live?
He lives with me because here's the stipulation on his court order. He was told that if he was at the house unsupervised, he would be arrested. So if his dad goes and lays down for any reason, there goes the kids. That's the way that they made it. They made sure to be able to, like I said, they made sure to be able to get my kids. They put stipulations and different things. Like I was saying earlier, one of them was our family counseling services. And this is something else I'm going to mention too, is that about parents' rights and court orders and stuff like this. When they said I was in violation of the disposition, it was never said in court I had to show them my medication. It was never stated in court by by the judge, my lawyer, or CPS. Nobody said anything. So I was like, my psychiatrist told me, be careful who you show your medication to, because it's a controlled substance. And so I asked them, please get something from my doctor saying you can see my medication. And so they're like, no, we're just going to violate you instead. So anyways, we'll be paying out of pocket for where I'm living. And because we don't any longer qualify for anything. So they want to take my husband for child support. I don't mind that because it helps my children and my father-in-law. But we're paying for our food out of pocket. We're paying for where we live out of pocket. We're paying for everything out of pocket now. My kids, they get food stamps, which are public assistance. That's what they get, which is fine, because I'd rather them not go without than, I'd rather me go without before they do. Everything I've done has been about my kids. I've even went back to school for paralegal just to be able to know some of my rights, know what's in the Constitution, know what's in the Bill of Rights, because that is where they're going to get you. It's absolutely where they're going to get you. I was a parent. I didn't know my rights. I didn't know I could just say, please leave. I didn't say, no, you can't come in. I didn't know it. So there was a third case opened besides the one that we have open. And it was opened from my husband's ex. And so she was trying to get my kids. She was trying to get my kids. She was found unfit. She was crazy. And I'm going to go into detail on that because because I can. I'm not a party in that case, and it's no longer open. That case was involving my 6-year-old son. He was in his mother's custody, and when I say she's crazy, she's legit crazy. She had CPS in her life for a good while. But the first time was when my husband was having visitation. And so my husband had visitation, and she had brought him with just a onesie on, and that was it, and was feeding him just water. And my husband goes, well, what are you feeding him? Why are you feeding him just water? Like, why? He was asking a bunch of questions, and she goes, well, I don't know, I guess. But anyways, months later, they get into the courtroom, and my husband is on one side, they're on the other. The baby, which is my son, he was a baby then, he crawls, I want to say he crawls over the table, or he did something, and he removed her glasses from her face, and she swatted him. When I say she swatted him, she backhanded him. A good one. And so my husband was saying, he goes, I'm surprised that the security people that were there they didn't even flinch. It wasn't anything to them. And this is in Pennsylvania, and I'm sitting here going, really? So they finally removed him when she tried to suffocate him and kill him. So when I say she tried to suffocate him, she threw clothes and dogs on top of my son and rolled the window up, closed the doors, and walked away like it was okay. That was her. So she tried opening a case and saying that my husband was abusive to our children, and that he was drinking around them, and he was abusive in front of my kids, in front of his dad, and him and his dad got into it in front of the kids. And that never happened. My husband is not a drinker. He does not drink. He doesn't like to drink. He doesn't even like anything out of the normal stuff. Like, usually you want to have, I don't know, he's just, my husband's a country boy, and he's weird. He's a weird one. But anyways, so we're actually run-of-the-mill people. We don't do anything to really harm anyone. In fact, when I have visitation with my daughter, it's one of the hardest things I put myself through. It was harder when she was in respite with in foster care. I feel like sometimes I lose a part of myself when I have to walk away from her. And I can hear her, and I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like I lose a part of myself. Like they're literally just chipping away a little bit at a time, to just get to me and get my kids. And And I'm doing everything I can to keep my kids away from them. I don't trust them. I had to learn that the hard way. The real hard way. The case that my husband's ex opened up, when she came to the door, I realized really quick. I was like, no, you're not coming in. You're not coming in. I walked out in the hall and had that, because there's a video camera out in the hall, and I was like, well, if something happens, it's on video. So you can't say much, and it's like, well, how do I have her card if I didn't meet with her? But I learned really quick. Don't let them in. Don't give them any information. Don't give them any. And be careful who's around you, who you surround yourself with, because they can be the ones that'll throw you underneath the bus. Legit. And had I known what I know now, do I wish my lawyer would have been a better lawyer? Yeah, I do. I thoroughly do, because I feel like she could have at least told me, this is what's expected of you, and there was none of that. It would have avoided this whole mess, this whole case. It would have avoided all of that. And so I'm left to wonder, if my kids are worth fighting for, but I'm left to wonder, like, how much more are they gonna want? I've actually asked my lawyer, how much more do they want before I can go home?
Responding to somebody in the chat. Hold on. Some people are a little confused about the story. I don't know if it's, I feel like I'm on the same page as you, but so let's start from the very beginning.
So
Who called? Not that we don't need to, I'll just ask questions and then you answer. How's that? Will that work?
Okay.
So when did CPS show up? Were you there? And what was their reasoning for taking the kids that day?
They showed up in 2018. My husband, I want to say my husband was there. It was just me and my husband, and they had, now you're making me remember. Hang on a minute. They had, I think, two sheriff and one state trooper, or two state troopers and one sheriff. Anyways, they came to my father-in-law's house, and we were living with my father-in-law because my home wasn't up to par. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So they came in, and the first case, they removed them because there was problems with the house, not with us, the house. So they removed them and put them in respite. We fixed those problems with the house, and they returned them home to us.
So when they showed up, you said they had no warrant, nothing like that.
Nope, none.
They didn't for me either.
And at that time, again, I'm going to be specific about this. I didn't know about my rights.
The spray is in here too.
I did not know. I could tell them, no, you can't come into my home.
I didn't know my rights either. Okay, good job. A lot of us don't. And honestly, like recently, I don't know if you knew, but the police came and banged on my door. And scared the shit out of me. And somebody complained because my daughter was throwing a temper tantrum, like bad. And I didn't do, like, she was in her room screaming. And I'm like, well, you're not coming out until you're done with that temper. And so somebody called the police. They came. My soul left my body because I don't want to go through that again. And we forget immediately what our rights are. What do you do in that situation? So I did allow them to see my daughter. It's hard because I was just talking to a mom about this, a foster mom actually. So she's on the other side, and I was explaining, when you get your kids back and they've endured so much trauma, you have a lot to fix. And there's always the honeymoon phase, oh, we're so glad we're home. But then there's, okay, we need to actually get back to life. And you don't get catered to 24/7. Mommy has to raise you still, and you need to learn how to do this. Clean up after yourself, wash dishes. Like, they're both old enough and capable enough to do chores. And so
it's hard because they don't get that when they're on the other side of that too. They sometimes don't get that.
No. And so the police came and they wanted to see my kid. So here's what went through my head.
We were recently in the middle of Walmart, and he had a temper tantrum. And normally I'm the mom that says, look, if you're going to have a temper tantrum, we can go sit out in the vehicle. But I couldn't do that. So I backed off for a little bit, and so I didn't get frustrated at him, because I don't want to take that out on him. I backed off, and then I regrouped, and when I went up to him, I just hugged him, and I hugged him so tight, and I said, I know what you want, because I knew he wanted my attention, because his sister was getting it, but she always gets the majority of things because she's younger. And so it was like, okay, mommy, you need mommy's attention right now. But I get where you're going with that, and the first place your mind goes when they start knocking on your door is, are you taking my kids?
Right. Well, they wanted to just see my kid. And I totally could have responded with, no, I don't have to. Which, that's the first thought that came in my head. Deny. You can't come in my house. I did tell them that. But I was like, if I don't see, our natural brain is, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Of course you can see my kid. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Takara. She's saying her kids are like that. And she goes, just trust me, I get mine are 15 and 12 now. I don't want to go to those ages. I don't want to make it worse than what it is. But anyways, our natural instinct is, I didn't do anything wrong. Of course you can see my kid. But that there's fear when it comes to that. So I did decide to let them see her. And they asked if we could separate and they could talk to my daughter. And I was like, sure. So, because it's not like she had any marks, there was nothing there for them to say to me. So they separated us. The one officer who seemed to be like the head one was talking to me, and he said, what's going on? And I said, I put my daughter in her room because she was throwing a fit and somebody called the cops. I said, I'm trying to do these new disciplines because nothing is working and I'm tired of yelling back and forth. So it's just like, I'm done. What I say goes and you're going to be obedient, period. I'm the mother. Why that can't get through their heads, I don't understand. Like I just told my daughter, I don't know if you heard it or not. I said, if you don't do your chores, I'm not going to order. She wants Mediterranean food for dinner. We go to this one spot. But that's not, she goes, you can't deny a child food. That was her response. When I said, if your chores don't get done, I'm not getting you food. I said, I'm not denying you food. We have plenty of food to make. You can eat here. But you're wanting me to go spend my money so you can have a gourmet meal. But you're not going to go do the chore I asked you to do, and you're taking extra long to do it, which you are. You're being ridiculous about getting it just done, daughter. So,
I know where you're going with that because my son is awfully like that. He wants something for nothing.
yeah,
Like, he's been taught it's okay to want, but he doesn't have to do anything to earn it. And so when I discipline him, I'm like, no, you're going to do as you're told or you don't get to go.
Yep.
Like, if he wants to go to Walmart and get a new toy, if you don't do what you're told, you're not going and you're not getting a new toy.
Yep.
And so they literally, with that, they found something wrong. They found something wrong with that. I was like, how can you guys?
The things they found wrong with me, like allowing my kids to, yes, allowing me to let my kids in the kitchen with me.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that I'm parentifying them because I let my daughter cook. And I've taught, she's loved being, to be in the kitchen since she was a couple years old. Loved it. If that's what you want to learn, then let's go. I'll teach you whatever you want to learn. But that was me. Now it's just, I wasn't having her in there making us meals like they accused me of. I was just teaching her things that she can do.
Well, and that's the thing with CPS. They will fabricate, and when I say fabricate, you'll say something and they'll twist it so much, it's so far from the truth. They keep twisting and twisting and twisting. And so what you say is here, what they say is complete exact opposite. So, and the really good example of that is when my father-in-law told them she's selling her prescription medication. He said, I don't know if it's true or not. They took that to be true. And so it leaves you to wonder, what are these, like, how are you supposed to defend yourself? You can't. You can't. You have to try to find a way to not answer their questions.
I'm sorry. My daughter had a dental appointment today and her mouth is throbbing.
I've been there, I've done it, I know. And it hurts.
Yeah. Go take that, honey. So anyways, the police separated us. The main officer was asking me. I was telling him what I was doing and stuff. And he goes, oh, well, when you figure it out, let me know, because I'm struggling with that at home, too. Then he yells over to his fellow officer, let's go. There's nothing going on here. Let's go. And the other officer was like, hold on, I'm concerned. And I'm like, really? You're concerned about what? So I made my daughter go back in the house. I'm like, you're done talking now. Tell me what you're concerned about. So I send my daughter in the house, and she gave me a look like, it was all for attention. And the officer's like, well, I'm really concerned. You need to get her into therapy. And I'm like, I'm the mom. She already has been in therapy. Thank you for your concern. And the other officer was like, it's time to go. I've heard what the mother said. It's time to go. I'm like, dude, we need more officers like you, where you don't get in people's fucking businesses. You just mind your own business and let me be the parent and stop coming to my house trying to tell me how to parent my child.
Pretty much. It's like, at the beginning of my case, when I was telling you that they have me on my mental health, I was in therapy long before they came into the picture. Long before. And it's like, you can either let me be a mom and leave, or you're gonna know who I am. You're gonna know I'm a mom, and Mama Bear is gonna come out swinging. Like, I was fed up. I was fed up with them, and I was completely fed up. And I've been fed up from the very beginning. I've been fed up. Because, like I said, we did everything we could with the first case to get our kids home. And the second case, legit, the reason for removing me was my medication. That's it. Because I have a mental health issue. Because I have depression and anxiety. But yet, the next person next door to me could have the same thing, and they're allowed to have their children. So, the one thing I've noticed is that, one, if you don't know your rights, they're gonna try and railroad you all they can. And the other thing is that, no offense, the poorer that you are, the more they try to railroad you. I'm not, the best of the best. I don't have tens and thousands of dollars, but I have money. And so it's like my lawyer. They literally, when they came into my home for the medication, for the mental health, when they came into my home, they came in, and when they came in, again, they still didn't have a warrant. And so when they came in, and I remember this clearly, she walks in and she goes, well, I want to know where your medication is. I want to see your medication.
What were you taking? Because it sounds like they're making such a big deal about it. It's annoying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
It was Zoloft 75 and Zoloft, or it was 75 altogether, so Zoloft 50 and Zoloft 25. And there was I'm drawing a blank. Benzodiazepine.
Like a Xanax?
Something like that. Klonopin. And so they come in and they're like, can we see your medications? And they didn't have a search warrant or anything. They start searching through my medicine cabinets and are safe at my medications. And I'm like, really? So then they're like, that's when I asked them, can you please get permission to see my medication? And they're like, well, no, we're just gonna violate you. So they violated me, and that's when they removed me. And when they removed me from my own home, they still did not have a warrant. They still did not have a warrant. They didn't even have a court order to remove me. Neither. So, like, legit, they threatened, if when we remove you, it's either going to be you or your kids. So it was either my kids out in the cold and have no roof over their head, or me. And I chose myself because I can find a place to go. I can figure something out. Worst case scenario, I was like, well, if I get picked up, I get picked up. I mean, I'll just tell them the truth. And so that's kind of what happened, but not really. But I had a lot of people that lied on me. I had a lot of people that lied to CPS. I had a lot of CPS making allegations up, and they've made a molehill out to be a mountain. I'm like, really? But I know why they want my kids. I know exactly why they want them, and I'm not naive anymore to them. I know they want to make money off of my kids. I know that they want my kids because they're also blonde hair and blue eyes. So.
And I do believe that they want our kids for all those reasons.
Well, my thing, I already know, and so they won't come out and say it. I have a friend of a friend who has a friend in the Department of Social Services, and literally they said that they looked into the files and they literally have it out for my family. Like they have a vendetta against my family. They are out to get my family. They're out to get us. And it goes even further, and my husband and I are married, and they're trying to literally get us divorced. And I said, I don't think so. I go, you've violated constitutional rights. What gives you the right to, what gives, not you, but what gives them the right to lie? What gives them the right to lie? Where does it say in the Constitution that they can lie? Where does it say that in the Bill of Rights? These are civil people. They're civil servants. They don't have that right. And it's scary because the first time and it's like you said, the first thing that goes through your mind is, are you taking my kids? The first time when we got her back, we were like, oh yeah, this is all good. Let's not give them a reason to come back.
Right.
They came back, and like, I was so terrified, and I would say over and over and over and over and over, I'd be like, I fear they're gonna come back. I fear they're gonna come back. I fear they're gonna come back. I fear they're gonna, and I would say it over and over and over and over. I go, I can see it coming. I go, they're gonna find a reason. And I would say it to him. I say it to my husband. I would say that to my husband, and he would be like, no, they're not coming back. I was like, sure enough, it wasn't even a year to the day that they opened the first one. It wasn't even a year, and they closed that one and opened another one. This case that we're currently on, they've had it open for 2 years. 2 years. We went back and forth to court. 2 years. And for 2 years, they've been trying to get my kids. And I finally had enough. When I say I had enough, I had my father-in-law petition for Article 6. And it was to alleviate and get them out of the picture. I'm not gonna lie about that. Get them out of the picture, get them gone. Because honestly, I want them gone. I want them gone, period. Just get out of my life. And so I had him petition. I legit asked him to do it. I said, will you petition for my kids to get Article 6? And he goes, yeah. He goes, no problem. Because I knew when we went in July for the court hearing, I knew they were going to try and place my kids in foster care. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew it. I could feel it. I could feel it in my bones. I could feel it. And so I was like, no.
I went and told somebody my kids were going to be taken before CPS was even a thought. I knew something was going to happen, and I told somebody, my kids are going to be taken from me. And she was like, why? I said, I don't know, but I have a feeling. And sure enough, it was 4 months later.
I felt like something wasn't right. And that's exactly how I felt. And I said to my husband, I go, they're going to find something to come back in. And he goes, no, they're not. And then, sure enough, they came back in on my mental health, saying I was mentally unstable for my kids. But yet, I'm out here on my visitation. I take perfect care of my daughter. Not one scratch on her. Not one bruise, not one scratch, no nothing. My son, he was playing on the playground. This was at my visitation. He was playing on the playground. And I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but the little, it's a slide, but they have the little square steps. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Say it again.
It's
like at a park?
It's a park, but inside the park, like, it's to a slide, because you know how you have steps? They're like little square steps going up, and they're placed in different places.
Okay.
So he ended up falling down the stairs, and as soon as, because I saw it, but I wasn't like directly in front of him, and as no sooner than he fell down those stairs, I was right on top of him. I was like, are you okay? The first thing I did was I pulled up his arm sleeve and pulled up his pant leg to make sure he didn't cut himself anywhere and stuff like that. And so if I was the monster that they made me out to be, I wouldn't be able to take care of my children. I wouldn't be able to take care of my daughter. And I wasn't the monster that they made me out to be. So they've literally not at all the monster that they made me out to be. But that's the one thing, like, I still to this day fear if we do get our kids back, I still fear to this day, if we stay in New York, I fear that they will try to get my kids. I fear that. Like, I fear that they will try to kidnap my children. And that's a serious thing. Like, I've I'm not one, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not one to get scared.
Right.
I'm not one to just get scared over nothing. Like, I can face these people and tell them, I'm gonna sue them. And I'm not afraid. But I fear that they will absolutely get my children, kidnap them, and I will never, ever get to see them again. And that's what they're trying to do. Like, when they removed me from my home, it was just after my daughter's birthday. Just after a couple days after my daughter's birthday. They've done so much trauma, not just to me, but to my children, and I can see it. I can see the trauma that they've caused. My son, and we have them here, I don't know if you guys have them and where you are or anybody else does, but we have what we call care managers. We have a care manager for my husband and I and my children. My son has one. And he talked to her, and the last time he talked to her, he was mad. My son was mad as white on rice that mom wasn't there. He literally, and I've never seen my son mad. He was so mad, he started scribbling really hard on a piece of paper. Like, he made sure that she knew he was mad that they removed mom, because mom was his protector. Like, when somebody was on him about something like really bad, mom was there to protect him. Mom was protective. And so he was mad. He was mad when they removed me. My daughter, and he's still traumatized about it, because he won't even talk about it. He won't talk about what happened in even foster care when he was in respite. He won't talk about that. He won't talk about his past from his mother. He won't talk about that. He's in therapy, but you know, he's traumatized. Like, it messed with his head.
Yeah. They never come home.
They never come home the same.
Nope.
It
Even if they're with family, they don't come home the same.
No. And I mean, me and you, because we're adults, we can rationalize things.
Sometimes.
We can rationalize things.
Yeah.
But my son, because he's 6, and my daughter, because she's 2, well, she's 2.5, excuse me, because of their age, they can't rationalize like we can. So he doesn't understand why. He understands mom isn't here, but he doesn't know why. Just like my daughter. I said to my husband today, because I'm not allowed to be near my father-in-law's vehicle. Don't know why, but whatever. Yeah, it's whacked. Like, I'll get into that in a minute. It's whacked. But my father-in-law pulled up outside where I live. And I happened to be in my husband's truck, and all I heard was my daughter say, "Mama, Mama, Mama." My daughter has been sick for a couple days now, and she wanted mom. That's what she wanted. She wanted mom. And my husband and my father-in-law left. My husband and I were driving down the road, and I looked over and I said, you know, I hope and pray to God that she knows that I don't ever forget her. Like, I don't I hope she knows I'm always thinking about her. I hope my son knows I'm always thinking about him. Like, I don't want them to think that mom just forgot about me, because they've already had enough of that. So I don't know. I just, myself, like, I literally have a picture of my daughter on the mirror. Actually, I have a picture of my daughter and my husband and my son. And every single night, I go up, I kiss it, say my prayers before bed, and cry. And cry because literally every time I'm not with my daughter, every time I'm not with my son, I feel like a piece of me is slipping away. And this is what they do. This isn't me. If I had my way, I'd be with my family. I literally feel like, and I don't know if you've heard other people say this, but I feel like they're out to kick somebody when they're down and out. That's exactly how I feel. Like, you know, like, if you're struggling with mental health or struggling with something, why not help a person instead of kicking them when they're down? Like, that's who they are. Like, they're the root. I'm telling you, they're the root of all evil. That's how I feel. I feel that they're the root of all evil.
Yeah.
Everybody says it's money, you know. I don't think that. I don't think that. I believe that they're the evil in this world, and that they want. I mean, if you look at other states, they're sex trafficking children. What's to say our state isn't doing that? And it scares me. It scares me because if you get my children, what's to say what you're gonna do? No. The one thing that my husband was worried about is if they got them, that they'd separate them, because they can do that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, nope. I was like, I'll take my chances with my father-in-law getting custody of my kids. I want them out. Period. I want them gone.
Right.
And I laugh about it because I guess that's my way of coping, but I want them gone.
What are some things on your case plan?
Right now?
Yes.
Like services?
Yeah.
Literally, we've finished everything except for nurturing parenting. So it's a parenting class. And literally, this is the one I was talking to you about. And here's where it gets interesting for me, because I didn't find this out until recently, that they are keeping that open until our CPS case closes. So here's my thing. It could be 3 years before that case closes. So what's keeping the case open is the nurturing parenting. And they don't want to close the nurturing parenting because then they'd have to close their case. I mean, it's like they work with each other. Okay, well, let's work with each other so we can't close this one, and we don't have to close her case or our case. So essentially, nurturing parenting doesn't close until my case closes. And my case doesn't close until my nurturing parenting closes.
Wow.
To me, that's a moot point.
Right.
Like, why would you do that? That's like, like, that's not even ongoing. That's like, it could take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And at 4 years from now, you're still engaged in family parenting. They'll still have that case open for 4 years. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. And that's the only thing that we have left. We did two other things. We did they had us, of course, do the budgeting thing. We did another parenting class. So we did 2 of them. We did 2 different parenting classes. So we have this one and we had the other one. And there were a couple other things that they had us do. And again, I'm going to tell you this because one of their requirements was that I be in therapy for mental health. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, how am I supposed to be in therapy? It's like you're a little behind because I've been in therapy and addressing my mental health since before you guys even got in the picture. Like 2 years prior to that.
Right.
So it's like you're behind on something. Like, no.
Right.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because if one thing doesn't close and the other doesn't, and it's like you did that deliberately so that it doesn't close. So essentially that's what I'm looking at. So when they took me out of my home too, because I asked my lawyer how much more is it going to take before I get back with my kids, and she looked at me, she says, I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't tell you. I can't tell you how long you're going to be away from your home and away from your family. I can't tell you, I can't tell you what more they're going to want. And I'm sitting here going, this is your job. This is your job to be my lawyer, to defend me, and you're not doing a very good job. So my best option that I had was to give my father-in-law, or he has Article 10 right now, so it's temporary custody. And so with temporary custody, they gave it to him temporarily till they get everything else figured out. Whether or not they're gonna go ahead with the petition violations or whatever. That was something else I wasn't aware of. So they said yesterday when we were in court, oh, we're gonna have trial. And I'm sitting here going, wait, why are we having trial? I'm like, wait a second, what do you mean? And they're like, so I talked to my lawyer, and never once did she mention, okay, well, we're not admitting to the petition violation. So she's hoping that we'll keep engaged in our services and that'll be enough to keep them happy. No. But I doubt it. I doubt it because they're gonna try as hard as they can to get my kids. And I already know that. Like if they've already had it out for me from the get-go on my family, from the very first case, like when I say that, I had a couple of other run-ins with them on different things. But they had it out for me then. And it went to court, and they had to back pay on some things. So, like, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not one to just leech off the government. That's not me. In fact, I work. I try to work. My last job, well, a couple of jobs ago, it didn't last long because of my father-in-law. But that's neither here nor there. But it's if they can't find a reason in one area to have something against you, they're gonna find it in a different area. And I've noticed this. Like, they had it out for me when I first got to New York and I was getting on my feet. I applied for food stamps. And they had it out for me then. And it's from that case all the way till now, it's literally carried over. It switched from one to another. So I was like, they've, and I don't understand a lot of things. Like, I don't understand how their workers can say one thing and do another.
Yeah, all of it's unfair. What would you tell people that are watching right now, or parents that are going through this? What would you tell them?
What would I tell them?
Mm-hmm.
I would tell them to not just look up your rights, but to educate yourself, listen to other people, listen to their stories that they have to say, and, you know, try to find a way around these people. Like, and just to keep in mind that they're the devil. They're the devil. They will do anything they can to knock you down.
Yep. So true.
And it's wicked. It's wicked. Do I wish I had known what I know now? Yeah. You know, to just, you know, I think I would want to remind people that, or say to people that, know your rights. Know that there is something that you can do. Just because, and I have my back against the wall. I really do. Like, I can't win either way I go. But I'm just gonna say, you know, know your rights, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah, be educated.
Because I didn't know it, and that's what they prey on. That's what they prey on.
Very true.
So,
well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share everything that
they're sick and they're twisted.
Yeah.
They really are. So I'm doing everything I can, but I've went as far as I've sent things all the way up to Senate. I've sent things all the way up to Senate because I'm not playing. I'm not playing anymore. I'm not playing. These are my kids. This is my family.
How about we do an update when you get them back?
We will. I promise. I gotta find something to get them back.
Yep.
And I'm gonna find it.
All right. Well, I gotta go feed my kids some dinner and put them to bed.
Oh, good luck with that.
Thanks so much.
They're adorable, just so you know.
Already hyper.
Oh.
Joy.
No.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we'll talk soon.
Bye,
Yep.
buddy.
All right.
Bye.